Today, we are talking about a virus that is, thankfully, pretty rare. But when it does show up, it has one of the highest fatality rates known to science. It's a close cousin of Ebola, and it moves with terrifying speed. So let's unpack what makes the Marburg virus so incredibly dangerous. When you think of the world's deadliest viruses, what pops into your head? You might not have heard of this one as much as others, but it absolutely belongs on that list. We're talking about the Marburg virus. So what is it? Marburg Virus Disease, or MVD for short, is a severe hemorrhagic fever. And to give you some context for just how serious we're talking, just look at its family tree. It's a filovirus, which makes it a very, very close and deadly cousin to the Ebola virus. Yeah. All right, so where did this thing even come from? Let's go all the way back to the beginning, the discovery of the virus. The year is 1967, and all of a sudden, 2 outbreaks flare up, seemingly out of nowhere, in Europe. One in Marburg and Frankfurt, Germany, and another one at the exact same time in Belgrade, Serbia. So what was the connection? Researchers eventually traced it back to a single common link: laboratory monkeys that had been imported from Uganda. This was humanity's very first and very brutal introduction to the Marburg virus. So that initial outbreak was traced to monkeys. But, that wasn't the whole story. The monkeys were just the middleman. To find the true source, scientists had to look a lot deeper. And they found it. Scientists have traced the virus's natural home, its reservoir, to the Egyptian fruit bat. Turns out, humans can get infected directly from these bats, usually through long-term exposure in the mines or caves where the bats live. And from there, the virus can also jump to other animals, like monkeys or even pigs, which then act as sort of a bridge to humans. So you can picture it as this 3-step chain. First, the virus is just hanging out, often harmlessly, within these bat populations. Then you get what's called a spillover event. That's when the virus makes the jump from a bat to a person. And that leads to the most dangerous stage of all, human-to-human spread, which can ignite an outbreak really, really fast. So how does it move from person to person? This part is crucial. It happens through direct contact with the blood, saliva, vomit, or other body fluids of someone who's infected. It can also spread if you touch contaminated things like bedding or medical equipment. And tragically, in many past outbreaks, traditional burial practices that involve touching the deceased have been a major way the virus continues to spread. Let's just put this into perspective with a virus we're all, unfortunately, very familiar with. Unlike COVID-19, which spreads through the air, Marburg is not airborne. You're not going to get it if someone coughs across the room. Its danger lies in how incredibly infectious it is through direct contact with bodily fluids. It's a key difference. Okay, so we know how you get it. But what happens after you're infected? What is this virus actually doing inside your body? Well, after you're exposed, there's this waiting period, the incubation period. And it can be a really anxious time because it can be as short as 2 days or as long as 3 weeks. For most people, though, symptoms start to show up within about 5 to 10 days. And when it hits like a freight train. It's not subtle. It starts with a sudden high fever, a splitting headache, and this really intense feeling of weakness and muscle pain that just takes over your whole body. It might feel like a really, really bad flu at first, but what comes next is so much worse. Within just a few days, the disease progresses rapidly. Patients get severe diarrhea, they're vomiting, they develop a skin rash, and then the signature hemorrhagic features can appear. We're talking bleeding from the gums, in the vomit, from the nose. In the absolute worst cases, this leads to multi-organ failure. And this is the number that really tells you how serious Marburg is. The case fatality rate ranges from a staggering 24% all the way up to 88%. Now, why the huge range? Well, it depends on the specific strain of the virus and, critically, on the level of medical care a person is able to get. So, that all sounds pretty terrifying, right? But it's not hopeless. So how do we actually fight back against a virus this deadly? Let's get into diagnosis, treatment, and prevention. Just look at the difference that medical care makes. It is night and day. Without supportive care, the fatality rate can skyrocket towards that 88% mark. But with a rapid response, things like managing fluids and electrolytes, that rate can drop all the way down to 24%. It just shows you how absolutely critical an immediate and effective medical response is to survival. And here's why that's so important. As of right now, there is no specific cure, no magic bullet for Marburg. There's no licensed vaccine either. So treatment is all about what we call supportive care, keeping the patient hydrated, balancing their body salts, treating any other infections that pop up. You're basically in a battle to keep the body running long enough for its own immune system to hopefully win the fight.
And even just confirming a case is a huge challenge. Because the virus is so dangerous to handle, diagnosis isn't simple. It requires sending samples to these highly specialized, high-containment labs that can run advanced tests like a PCR to find the virus's genetic material. It's a high-stakes operation.
So, because we can't easily cure it, prevention is absolutely everything. It starts at the source, avoiding those bat caves. For healthcare workers, it means strict, full-body protective gear, no shortcuts. For communities, it means isolating anyone with symptoms immediately, practicing safe burial rituals, and most importantly, education. Awareness is our first and our best line of defense, hands down. Okay, let's wrap this up. What's the bottom line here? What's the one thing you really need to remember about the Marburg virus? I think this quote sums it up perfectly. Marburg Virus Disease is rare, but when outbreaks occur, they are severe and fast-moving. That's the real paradox of this virus. Its rarity is, in a way, what makes it so dangerous, because when it does pop up, it can catch health systems completely off guard and just tear through a community. Our ability to fight Marburg really comes down to three key things: awareness of the risks, prevention to stop it from spreading, and a super rapid response the second a case appears. Until we have a vaccine, these three pillars are our best and really our only defense. And that leaves us with one final, really important question. We know this virus is rare, but are we as a global community truly ready for when it inevitably shows up again?